Welcome to Amy's Bookshelf Reviews podcast, conversations, revelations, and inspirations behind the books. It's time for our segment, Literary Commentary. Thank you for listening. Good evening, listeners. I'm Amy Shannon, and welcome to Literary Commentary.
And I'm Talia Haven.
Well, it is another new month, and we're still around. And so I'm just going to kind of start out with, like I do every month when I have them. I have some new releases coming up. And just a reminder, authors, if you have book releases coming up and you want your book reviewed, you can email me, because I take requests all from that. If you haven't been on have a book read by me before, I am only taking referrals from publicists and publishers, but I've also made exceptions for people who have been approached by the fake Amy Shannon and Amy's Bookshelf Reviews. So I've been reading and reviewing people that have been, or at least tempted to be scammed by someone pretending to be me. So I just wanted to put that out there. So, and if you ever, and just a note too, that anyone, if you, a lot of authors have been receiving all these emails. They're pretending to be real people, publishers, publicists, book reviewers such as myself, but they're also pretend that they're heads of these book clubs that don't exist. When I send out emails, I have a watermark and information in my signature line, which makes it longer than normal. And always make sure when you read an email that you actually look at the email address, and make sure that, you know where it's coming from. And of course, if you are uncertain, you can always forward me the email and I will, let you know if it's, legitimate or if it's a scam. And I have that on the internet, so when people Google me, they can see that someone is impersonating me, which really sucks, But anyways, moving forward to this month's releases, Dr. Dale Atkins has released another children's book called Dear Dear. So it's D-E-A-R and then D-E-E-R. And that comes out on June 2nd. Then we have Meryl Brandt McTiernan, What You Should Worry About, also coming out on June 2nd. Inga Simpson's The Thinning, coming out on June 6th. Melina Druga, Midlife Melody, coming out on June 9th, which, by the way, is my birthday. And Nicole Haydenberg, Deadly Portals is coming out on June 16th. So those are the releases that I have for June. And it also turns out that June is audiobook month, which was very interesting. I didn't know there was actual thing, so I guess it is a thing. So we are going to really talk about audiobooks, the trends, the pros and cons, and various things that will come up on this topic. A long time ago, I don't even remember how long ago, but probably more than 10 years ago, I put one of my books on audio, and I did it through ACX, and then I got an email recently that said we are changing the way royalties are going to be dispersed. The way it used to be is that you had to make a certain amount, sell a certain amount of books in order for you to get paid. My audiobooks, I only sold like 6 or 7 back then, and So I have not gotten paid for those, and neither has the narrator, because we made a deal. If you hire a narrator, you can either pay them up front, or they can you could split the profits of your royalties. So he has not been paid either. And ACX has nothing to do with this. Even though ACX and Amazon, they coexist because they're owned by the same company, as well as Audible.com. They also are owned by one company. But if you are using virtual voice if you have that ability, not all authors have access to that, but many do now, where you can create an audio book using AI, and you get to select the voice and all that. And I've done it just to see how, and it doesn't sound too bad. It sounds kind of interesting because the voices are getting better. They're not more like, monotone and computer. They have more emphasis and, diction and things like that. So, but as I was saying, ACX, I had to go in and agree that, okay, whatever their changes were, that I agreed to that. And so there's that. So anything on your end about audiobooks?
Well, I've released on Amazon, but I was just kind of wondering, with AI, how long do you think it'll be before Amazon is really able to take that constant, like you said, monotone pitch out of the story? Because mine is released through Amazon, and it's just like a simple read. Once in a while, you get a little bit of emotion, but not a lot. It's nowhere near the skill that a human being has.
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree on that. I mean, I did it to try it out, and really I did it for the ones that I still have on Amazon. Still moving in the process of doing it. I print books over to Ingram Sparks, but leaving just my digital on KDP, and the ones that have virtual voice, I've used it pretty much just to go through the processes, and if I ever decided to change, then I have actually learned how to do that. I have a client of mine, he went through the studio, he's a voice actor and an actor, and he recorded his own audiobooks, so each chapter, and he was having such a hard time getting ACX to publish them, so that say that they're when you upload them, there's no errors, things like that. So he asked me if I could try, and I did, but I learned in going through the process, and there was when I first uploaded the file, there was a couple errors, so I looked up to see what those errors meant, and then I did some research. I was able to find out what I needed to, what program I needed to use to edit these audiobooks, and also do the process of making them compliant. And I was able to. It took me a while to get it done, but I did, and he just let me know, because the first time I did it all, it was like, it didn't go through. He's like, I told you, I always have problems with this, and I'm like, okay, let me just go through the files one more time, and I redid every single file, and I guess at one point one had been slightly cut off, so when I redid it, it didn't get cut. I made sure it wasn't cut off, and then he sent me an email. He's like, thank you, it's been published. And I'm like, you are so welcome. Because they get this.
No, I know. Next.
Yeah, it's so frustrating. And I feel for them, especially when I'm trying to help them. And I'm like, a lot of times I'll say, okay, you got to send the email, but I'll write it for you, and you just send it to KDP or Amazon or whoever they're dealing with. And I had this other client who was having trouble getting royalties. He never got royalties for any of his books from KDP, and all the information is correct. So I wrote this very tactful email, and I sent it to him like, you can use this. And he's like, that's way too nice. I'm changing it. I'm like, okay. Don't tell him I wrote it.
And did he get any results when he went on the snarky side?
Oh, he's still waiting. And I feel bad, I can only do so much, on my end because I'm representing them. And a lot of times, with Amazon, they want that person. So sometimes I'm like, okay, I'm writing on behalf of this person, and this is their information. As long as I have their information and OTP and all that stuff, they don't usually give me a problem. But sometimes it's like, it's going to their email, so they need to respond or whatever. And I'm like, if they respond, just tell me and I'll help you answer. But, back to, with audio, it can be very, if you listen to those really good audiobooks, I've heard audiobooks that, they're good. Sometimes the voice just doesn't fit the story. And I know it kind of sounds strange, but, when I had I have a few books that have a main character who is male, and so when I selected a voice, I wanted a male voice, and if I have some that are female lead characters, then they have a female voice, and the voices they all say the same thing, the same little bit of text.
Yes.
Yeah, and sometimes it gets it. And there's always, you're like, oh no, I need something like this, and there's not that. Like I have one book that my main character, he has a Texan accent because he lived in Texas for so long. He called it his home, and then he moved to Oklahoma. But I couldn't find a virtual voice that had that type of accent, and that went perfectly with the story. The way they would pronounce things, and I had to, when I did that book, I had to do a lot of research of, what kind of, phrases would a Texan say, part of their dialect and their normal conversation, so, and then, putting on audio, it's, you gotta say it the way they say it, So.
Right. You gotta have the accent and the slang and the pronunciations on the vowels.
Exactly.
Different from region to region in the United States. I mean, I don't think we hear it as much as a European would hear it, the different dialects.
Yeah. And I know, and some people, it's weird because when I talk to my aunt lives in Georgia, and she's lived there for so long. She has a southern accent, and I don't know what it is, but after we'll talk to her on the phone, and then it's like I pick up her accent for a little while. I'm like saying y'all and everything. I'm like, wait a minute. I sound like my aunt. For some reason, it just comes like I'll just pick it up, and I don't know, but it's like, sorry, I'm not making fun of you. It just, my brain says, talk like you. But, whatever. Things happen, and
yeah, they do. And I'd have to say that my favorite audiobooks have got some music in the background too. It kind of, if they're in like a party or something, there'd be like a faint something in the background of music, right, which is always kind of cool because it helps put you into the scene. Where when you're reading the book, you're at the party, but if you listen to the book and they take the time to really get into it, you can, almost put yourself there.
Yeah. When my audiobook was done, the man who did it, he was amazing. And he used something, I don't know what it was, but when he was just narrating the story, but then when he was talking about, had a scene where a person was talking on the telephone, he actually had some kind of muffled it just slightly so you would get that sense that, oh yes, they're talking on the phone. And when I heard that, I thought that was so cool. And then sometimes he would put in like a little, a little sound effect, like, cause, the character had a swinging kitchen door and it squeaked until it stopped. So he added the squeaking of that to make that, it was something that was like, it was very meticulous because the main character is very eccentric. He likes to walk around his house naked, just wearing 2 different colored socks. But there are certain things that he could always count on, and the squeaking of that door until it, stopped swaying, and that was like one of them. So, for the narrator to make a note of that, I thought that was very cool.
Yeah, that is pretty neat. Those little details that and tone of voice too, because I would assume, and I've never had a book turned into audiobook with the exception of Amazon, and it just is just read. But it seems to me that when I listen to the audiobook, if you read along, they take away the sentence that says, well, the voice got low, and all the actor does is make the voice low, and they cut that, it's like they do some editing to simple things, which is really kind of cool too. Instead of listening to, well, the voice got low, and you just, you know what I mean? You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like, or when you're being snarky or something like that.
Yeah.
Or you're being sarcastic and you just, there's a tone. It's like, It reminds me of, when my cats only listen to me when they're being like, I tell them they're not supposed to do something, like being on the table or scratching at the carpet that they like to do. My kids tell them not to do it, and I'll just say, hey, stop it. And that's my mom tone. And the cats listen to that. They're like, oh boy, I'm going to stop this and run away. So yeah, there is that tone. I don't have to use it with my kids anymore because they're grown, but moms have that tone.
Did you have to have yourself edit out those little details of voices and whatnot before you did your submission, or did they just go through and got rid of?
They just went through
little cue words that let the reader know.
That is exactly what he did. He, cause I just put in, I had to separate the book. You give them a sample so they can, you have narrators who, like, basically they're auditioning, and a sample that you want them to read. And it's always important to pick out one that you really like, okay, this scene is really major, so let's, pick that scene, and see how they do. And it's, all I did was I just had to separate the book itself into individual chapters, because when he did his recordings, they have to, they have the introduction, and then everything, all files are separate, whether it's prologue, introduction, ending credits. If you, each chapter or section, however you do it, everything is an individual file. And, you kind of, I find I like it when an author can do their own book. I think it's very cool, because they know the characters, especially if they have that, that powerful, strong voice. And, but there's a company that we were going to talk about. I'm just going to throw it out there that, they are, it's something I'd never seen before from an audiobook publisher. And I'm talking about Pro Audiobooks, and I'm not just talking about them because I know the owner virtually. And I remember her from a very old radio show I used to be a guest on, and we met there, and she was talking about the start of her company, and now it is continuing to grow. And what her concept was, and it always has been, is authors have control over the process. They make decisions. They're involved every step of the way, but also for audiobooks, the royalties are a bit higher than normal audiobooks, and I know that they use, depending on the book, they will use one. Sometimes they'll just only have to use one narrator. Sometimes they use several. It could be 2, 3, 4, 5 narrators, and they're pretty much voice actors. And I had the privilege to sit in one of their meetings, their company meetings, and I finally got to put faces to the staff that I've been emailing, and they've been emailing me for reviews and stuff. And so they just it was very cool, and I asked them how they did it. Were they all in the same room? And they said that sometimes they would be in the same room, but they were always somehow connected. So the other person knew what the other person was doing. So when it was their turn, whether, a lot of times, and I've read I've listened to so many of them that, there's two characters having a dialogue, so you're getting those characters' voices.
Right.
And then you have the overall narrator, but also these are voice actors. They're not just narrators. And I do know, depending on the size of your book, it can be, for, people, with low budgets, they may have, the prices can be pretty, they might be out of somebody's range in their own budget. But I also know that they have it so they have payment plans to produce your book. I know an author, and anytime I refer an author, I get like a finder's fee once their book has been published. An author told me that it wasn't quite done, but it would be published as soon as he finished making his payments, which he did, and then his book was published. So that is how I learned about. I'm like, can I be nosy and ask you what the price is? And he's like, yeah. And he's like, but they gave me a payment plan, and we have like 6 different voice actors, and so it works. And audiobooks aren't for all types of books. I mean, I wouldn't really want to listen to a workbook or a textbook unless I was in school on audiobook,
Right.
But, especially, biographies or, different types of fiction, from fantasy to whatever. And, some of these books are just amazing. So, I'm going to let you continue on talking about Pro Audio Voices.
Yes. I got onto their website today and discovered that they're having a audiobook festival this Sunday, June 7th, 2026, for people that are listening to it past June 7th, 2026. It is from 1 to 7:45 p.m. There is a link on it that you pre-register, and it's a virtual interactive event. I did pre-register to get into it to find out if it was like a Zoom thing or whatnot, and it is virtual interactive. They will send you a link. I unfortunately couldn't attend the event because I've got something going on that day, but they will send you a link to confirm who you are. You click on that link, and you should be registered.
Oh, cool.
I also seen that they do nonfiction, fiction, and children's. And like we were discussing, there's audio, full cast. They do put in music. They told me that for 2026, there is an award called the Gracie Awards. And it's hosted by the Alliance of Women in Media Foundation. I didn't know these people existed. They have been around for 51 years because this is the 51 year that they've given out the award. And it covers media. It covers TV, radio, audio, digital. And this year, their audiobook, The Legend of Valentine, was the winner of that Gracie Award.
Wow.
So that tells you just what type of skill they have.
Oh, yeah, definitely. So one thing I recommend, if you as an author, I know they're always accepting, taking submissions, so they don't have just a specific submission call. They have where, you go, you read their requirements. I think there's a form you fill out or something, and you actually meet, you can meet with someone one-on-one. I'm pretty sure if that's the case. And
when I was on today, there was a link where you clicked to arrange for a phone call, a chat. So yeah, you're right. This isn't our true submission call that we've been doing, because audiobooks, like you're right, they don't do that type of thing. But they do have a link on their site where you can click it and you can arrange to get a phone call. And that would be basically your submission. You'd chat with them. Yeah.
And that's what I liked about it. Cause I've done it. So just not because I was going to do an audiobook, but sometimes, the CEO, Becky, she's very busy. And if there's something that I need to discuss with her, then I'd rather talk to her. I will go in and make an appointment, get that booked, and then she'll call me on that time, and we'll do a video call if there's things that we want to talk about, rather than just go through email or something like that. Because sometimes, things can get lost in translation, or it's easier to explain face to face, even if it's a computer screen. And as the CEO and owner, and founder, I should say, of Pro Audio Voices, I think she's just an amazing person, and I've always liked her. And, if you kind of go back and on some of the episodes, one of them, I interviewed her several months ago, when she was, talking about, I think it ran in January or February, and she was talking about what was exciting and coming up and things like that. And for her to take that time to come on, and talk to me and, share with the listeners, about that. And also her taking the time to invite me, and I was the only reviewer at some of these meetings that they've had. I would ask a question, and everybody was like, everybody knew I was on the call. But it's so impressive, and everything that the people that work together, they had their authors on, they've had some of the voices, the voice actors, some of the people that they do there's like 2 or 3 people that send me the review requests and stuff like that, and give me my own code so I can get the book and listen to it. But I want to say it's going to be, it's like a really big deal. It's a really big thing that they're doing. And I want to use the word trailblazer because I can see others kind of trying to follow in their footsteps because they take it to another level. And I'm not just saying this because I know the people and I've worked with them. And, there are some publishers that are, they're not as approachable. And then there's a lot that I communicate with. I mean, I get a lot of publicists that contact me. Once in a while I'll get an agent, but usually publicists. And lately it's been a lot of publishers contacting me directly to review books for their authors. And so it's, some are more approachable than others. And I find, and these are not a small press by any means, but I think they're leading the way, and other books, maybe other audiobook publishers may kind of try to follow in their footsteps because what they produce is amazing. And if you're an author and you're thinking about it, go on their site, look for books in your genre, and they have where you can just listen to samples of, like you can on Audible, or, listen to a sample before you decide to buy. Listen to a few of them. And it's the same thing that I tell people if they want to be on the show, listen to, listen to all the shows. Well, listen to some, listen to more than one. And, so you kind of get the feel of what it's about. And I think that's important. Especially if you're going to invest money or time or both into something, that's, something that you should really do, especially these days when you sometimes you're like, oh, there's so much. What do I do? And I do that on a daily basis, going, oh, what the heck am I supposed to do? And, you take that deep breath, you listen, you try to decide. And even if you're not sure, take the step and at least do the one-on-one and see if that's something. But, listen to the examples first. And so, look for one that may have one narrator versus some that may have a couple, and listen to those samples, and you can see, you can hear the difference if you've listened to other audiobooks in the past. And also when I mentioned Becky, the founder and CEO, she also is one of the narrators. So, that she does do it, on some books. So I think that's pretty cool that she does that as well. She's not just running the company. She is the company.
Right.
So, that is what I've got for June. So, thank you, audience, for listening, and feel free to comment on this show or any show. Join me again next week for more great conversations. And if you want to check out my work, just Google me. I'm Amy Shannon. Be safe, be well, and always be kind.
The pursuing Alemanni halted their chase, unwilling to follow them to a certain death.
We must!
He yelled, yanking the Empress into the abyss as the flaming carriage spiraled through the air beside them. Valentine slowly removed his palms from her eyes with tender care, unveiling the world before her. A profound silence enveloped them. Then, in a voice trembling with apprehension, Agatha whispered,
"Something feels different."
Thank you for listening to Amy's Bookshelf Reviews podcast. If you wish to be a guest on the show, you can go to amysbookshelf.com